Welcome, everyone, to the Cauldron of a Quantum Field, a cosmic tapestry where we will weave profound conversations of ancient wisdom and multi-dimensional magic with the quantum physics and energy architecture of the universe. This gathering is designed to hold space for language and stories to flow through that ignite our innate remembrance of what it means to be connected far beyond linear time and space, and what this means for us in our shared humanity as we co-create a future full of compassion, peace, and unity for all, from the unique strands that only we can bring to this divine and beautiful spiderweb of life. Kia ora, everyone. I'm Kathleen Nora Te Matatohi Bauer, and I am so excited for you all today as we welcome the storytelling queen, Elizabeth Bercovici. Welcome.
Hi, I'm so honored to be here. I can't wait to make magic with you all today.
Mm. I'm going to read your beautiful bio. Elizabeth Dillon Bercovici is a mythic storyteller, intuitive healer, writing coach, new paradigm teacher, and conduit for higher energies. She is also the host and producer of 9 magical storytelling virtual summits, including Treasures of Ireland, High Magic in Eden, Avalon, and the Holy Grail. These were immersive experiences exploring the goddess Bridget, the Morrigan, the Fae, mythic storytelling, and Celtic lore. She's a catalyst for soul growth and helps people heal on a deep level through channeled activations and vortex healing, a special form of divine magic through the Merlin lineage. Her latest courses include Awakening, Arwen, The Way of the Bard, and Arthurian Myth and Magic. And Elizabeth has an MFA in creative writing from Emerson College and a BA in English literature from Skidmore College. She's published 2 books, a children's book called The Fairy and the Firefly, and a handbook about herbal medicine entitled The Energetic Apothecary. She loves to help people with writing, storytelling, and birthing creative projects. And her great gift is igniting the soul fire in others so that they can step into their power, their purpose, their creativity, and their greatness. Well, our dear listeners tuning in, we have such a treat today as Elizabeth brings us the Quantum Queen. Welcome.
Oh my God, I'm just so excited to delve into this topic with you. It was also just, Kathleen, I want to thank you for reading out my bio. It's funny because sometimes like you hear it as if for the first time. And I was listening to it and I was like, oh, for example, that one line, igniting the soul fire in others. When I wrote that, I really felt that was channeled from my heart. And speaking of like quantum queen, I feel like that really is I feel like the mark of a true queen is to ignite the soul fire in others. Because it's one of those things where I think people, they kind of mistake, they think the queen, like, yes, she is in her power, her magnetism, her leadership, but ultimately she is a voice for something greater. And I feel that everyone here, if you're drawn to this call, there is something special that you are here to share with the world, even if it's just by you being an embodiment of light on the planet. And so everyone, like once upon a time, it was just like the one person or like, that was the queen. But now so many of us are called to step into these queen codes. And I've had a very powerful journey unlocking my queen codes. And, when I was invited to speak at this beautiful quantum container, like it was funny, I'd actually had brewing this idea for a program called Quantum Queen. And so that's still brewing. But when I was invited, all of a sudden it just dropped in. That is the name of the talk. That's what you're going to share with people. And so I'm just like very much right now opening heart, mind, body, and soul to what wants to come through for everyone. And the way I usually like to do this is I actually like to set a sacred circle before I do most of my master classes and calls. So for those of you who are new to me, it's very quick, very simple. You may kind of recognize this as an invocation. I like to think of it as more of a druid circle, but this is really going to create a very powerful magnetic field for us to do like very, very like sacred quantum magic together. So in this call, like everything I share with you is a transmission in itself, but there will also be an activation at the ends of this interview. And so that will really anchor in these quantum queen codes for you. So for those of you who are new to me, just hang tight. And I promise this is a very quick circle. And I also will invite you to call in any guides that you might work with. So I invite you to take a seat if you're not already seated, and take a deep breath. Breathe in, and now I cast this circle to create a space beyond space and time beyond time. I cast this circle to block out all energies and spirits that are not allies of ours. I cast this circle that all energies raised herein remain confined. As above, so below, as within, so without, the circle is sealed. And you can imagine, I really usually see like a globe of light surrounding and encasing the circle that we have cast together. And I'm calling in the directions north, south, east, west, above, below, and within. And really feel as we call upon within, feel your own heart lighting. Really feel this. There's a quantum field of creation right now in your heart that is activating. And it is linking every single person who is here to receive the quantum queen codes, open heart, mind, body, and soul to the magic that already exists within your heart, that is here today to be activated, awakened. And I also call upon the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. I call upon the stars, the space, the space that makes matter, the space within all of us. And this space is very important because by emptying out that we really become quantum queens of creation. And for any men who are listening to this, it's the same principles. These are royal codes. So any men who are listening to this, trust me, you are also receiving quantum activations, your divinity, your royal codes as well. So I wanted to just into this sacred space, call in some of the queens that I work with. And so, of course, like for me, like the big queens I work with the Queen of Sheba, who we're going to talk more about today. The Queen of Sheba, she is a powerhouse. I usually like to call her in with her divine counterpart, King Solomon. You might feel them coming in. I call in Cleopatra, so powerful. This is one of my favorite guides. She is epic. She is very, very epic. And I want to call in Mark Antony, her divine counterpart, who really, I've done some very powerful magic with them. And I'm just calling in, I have a whole council of queens that I work with, and I'm calling in my council of queens. These are mostly queens on the other side, Queen Nefertiti, Hatshepsut. And I make sure that I'm calling in only the highest of the high. Those that are not of the highest of the high are here with banished from the space. Only those beings who hold the heart of the grail may be present. And you might have discerned that I work very deeply also with the Holy Grail. And this is also very intimately connected with divine rights of queenship and kingship. So I also want to call in Guinevere. I want to call in the great Queen Guinevere, her divine counterpart, Arthur. I want to call in Merlin. Merlin, who also protects and defends the Holy Grail. And I want to call in some of my favorite Irish queens, Queen Maeve. Queen Maeve and the Morrigan, the Raven Queen, please be here with us. And so I'm also just calling in any high-level guides and team that are meant to be here with us in the sacred space who I have not called by name. I feel the presence of Goddess Isis, her divine counterpart Osiris. I feel Hathor, Ra. There's a lot of Egyptian energy here. And I'm just letting you know that anyone who is unfamiliar with me, I work very deeply with the Irish gods and goddesses. They're called the Tuatha Danann. So I'm going to call them in as well to just really bring in some very high level magic to the space as well. And because we're also working with, I mentioned Guinevere, the Morrigan, that's a lot of fairy energy. And so I really want to call in the Sidhe, the fairies, the fae, because when you really do high level queen magic, you are inviting all of creation to do magic with you. The fairies, the fae, they are definitely part of this sacred experience. So my intention is that everyone here on this call receive exactly what they need to receive. Whatever you are stepping into, your king codes, your queen codes, I invite you here into the space to fully open to your divine empowerment, activation, whatever you are here to receive, whether it's more radiance, magnetism, whether you're here to receive clarity, direction, more power to use your voice, more ability to step into your leadership, that you receive precisely what you need. I cast this circle with the highest intentions for everyone here present. And also, Kathleen, I invite if there are any intentions that you also have for the sacred container.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm just, yeah, sitting here. I love how much you weave Ireland and Egypt together because they are so intricately connected, the two of them as well. Bringing in my polar bear, mama bear, polar bear, bringing in Rhaegar, my dragon soul guardian, and just, yeah, calling in all of the ancestors and the majestic lineage that resides in every single one of us, calling forth this, the queen, maybe we'll talk about this, queen has been so distorted, the interpretation or what how we feel about queen, but when we think about queen and the bees, how it's synergy, not hierarchy. So yeah, this is just so incredible, this topic, Elizabeth. And so first of all, I'd love to ask you, like, how you connect so deeply, and you're going to tell us about these queens. How can we all connect into the quantum queendom?
Oh my God. Well, first it's really, I mean, I think the first step is saying like that you have this within you, this magnetism, this radiance, this power that wants to be unlocked. And I think it's kind of first thinking of the most magical moments of your life. The moment where you felt the most empowered. And one of the things that I really want to help people step into, it's also that kind of Disney princess energy as well, because I have a whole journey. I've had a lot of experience with all different like queens as guides on the other side. And also like I want to share the pearls of wisdom I received. And a lot of the queens, especially like I said, my journey, I have done a lot of work with queens on the other side. A lot of them, there's extreme disempowerment. There is a lot of tragic history that a lot of these queens face. There is uprising, there were challenges. And so many of us in today's world, like, yes, we are navigating challenges, but I feel that we are all here to experience the bounty, the beauty of being alive. And so these queens, like part of what they wanted, and I know it's different for the different queens, but queens like Guinevere, they wanted to help us create enchanted lives, lives of true mystery and magic and enchantment. And so part of the quantum for me is stepping into the realm of enchantment. And so you will see in all of different like myths, like different Celtic stories and legends, whether it's the Irish mythology, the Welsh mythology, the Arthurian legends, the heroes and heroines always go into the other world. And this is part of the initiation. They have to go into the other world. And I see this. I see this as part of it's like their mystery school teachings, but the mystery school is life itself. The mystery school is learning how to create in the realm of infinite potential and possibilities. Because the human mind thinks, oh, only this is possible. And then when you go into the other world with the Sidhe and the fairies and the fae, you're like, oh my God, everything opens. Time is completely different. And you'll hear all different stories of this. People who were on quests and they like, oh, they were in the realm of fairy for what they thought was a day or 3 days. And they come back and 100 years have passed. And so these are stories that these are ubiquitous throughout Celtic legends. You will hear this, like time is different in the other world. And I think I'm one of the people that really is like kind of at the forefront of connecting the quantum with the other world. The other world is very, very ancient in myths and legends. The quantum space is something that we're talking about more, we talk about it more in the modern sense, like this is new science, like this is something that has just been discovered. But if we look back at ancient Egypt, we look back at these ancient civilizations, they knew all about the quantum. It's like they knew all about this, and there are different, mystics, whether we're looking at ancient Egypt, all of the ancient cultures, and they understood first and foremost that high magic really was connected to vibration and consciousness. And they knew that where you were vibrating was what you created. And I know that I'm saying like probably similar things at this moment to people on this summit, but it's kind of like you attract, like you don't attract like what you want, you attract what you are. And so if you're wanting to create that next level reality where you're fully in your power, your magnetism, your leadership, whatever it is that drew you to this call about the quantum queen, it starts by embodying that, being that here today. And so that's part of like, the lessons I want to share with you. And so for me, I can just say that my journey really connecting with the queens, this is so funny. So one of the lessons that I just have very recently started to master, I shouldn't say started to master, but it's almost like my soul kind of gave me a decree that it was like, this was it. I had to learn this lesson. It was finally time. And so for me, I grew up in a very traditional family. And so I know how to speak. I don't want to call them muggles, but I know how to speak with like, very, very everyday normal people who have more normal everyday beliefs. And then my whole heart, my whole life, I was drawn, even as a little girl, I would go in the bookstore and I'd be reading all the books on dragons and magic and witches and potions and fairies, of course. And it's just so funny. So my whole life, I kind of saw that as me being very interested in magical storytelling. But as I got older, I started to realize like, oh wait, magic is real. Magic is real. And I also saw the power of storytelling. And again, that's part of why I do what I do. But I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here right now. What I want to say, the lesson that I've had to learn more recently is that I can no longer, I'm trying to find the language for this. I have to be fully in my magic. For so long, I would change like how I would speak, whether I was talking to someone who was very spiritual, very open, or someone who was not as open to the magic, not as open to the quantum. I would almost change who I was, and I would dim my frequency, dim my light. And I have reached this point uh, that I feel like by divine decree, my guides, my soul has said, I have to be fully in the power, the magic of my soul, because that's what I'm here to do and to be. And this is very hard for me. I know you might not know this, but in my astrology, my rising sign is Libra. Libra is all about like harmony and balance, and the shadow of that is people pleasing. So for me, this has been a very big lesson over the course of my lifetime. And so a lot of the queens I've connected with, for example, there's an Irish queen, the Morrigan, who I've had a lot of like lessons, karmic lessons around having to actually stand in my power and not people please. And whenever I would have that moment, the Morrigan, she is the Raven Queen. This is the most badass goddess, by the way. She's a goddess, but she's also a queen, and she's a goddess of battle. I have some videos on my YouTube channel if you want to learn more about the Morrigan. But she was a very powerful guide for me. She is still a very powerful guide for me, because she's the guide that when you fall down, she invites you to rise, to get up, to stand up, to be your strongest self. And so, she was one of my great guides for a very long time. Like I said, she still is. And so the big lesson that she really helped me with for a long time was people pleasing. But now, I'm sharing this. I've reached a point in my development where I know that I have to shine my light fully and completely. I can no longer dim my light for anyone. And this is actually like something in the last couple months that's really come through for me. And this is part of the quantum queen energy, is you have to be almost unapologetic, a member of of the royalty. They show up, they don't doubt their worthiness. They don't doubt what they are there to do and to be in the world. And so that's one of the, the big things I invite everyone to kind of look at. Where are you still not fully owning your power, your magic? Where are you still shying away or people pleasing? And this, for me, I can tell you, this was one of the big initiations I had. And I have more things. I have so many queens I want to touch on, but I wanted to just like kind of open, I wanted to open with the journey that I have been on with these queens. And so I went on this whole tangent about fully owning my magic, because one of the things I was really afraid to talk about was my belief in past lives. I always thought that people were going to think that like that was strange or peculiar. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm fully owning this, like this knowing. So I personally feel I have memories of different incarnations where I held the role of queen, and where I held that kind of leadership and responsibility. And so when I show up here today, it's not just like, oh, queen, like it's an empty phrase, an empty title. It's actually claiming this past life remembrance, these codes that my soul is really here to bring into the world. And so by claiming this, like for me, there is a certain fear that I have to transmute or transcend to actually really claim this. And I want to share that, for anyone who has like past lives, whether they had queenly or kingly past lives or positions of power, there usually will be probably some not good things that happen in that lifetime. And so for me, I can share, like, in one of my, past lives as a queen, there was a very, I won't go into the whole story of that incarnation, but it ended badly. I'll just say I had several different incarnations holding like queenly power, queenly magic, but one of the last ones, it ended a bit badly. So in this lifetime, when I first reconnected with the queen archetype, the queen energy, it came first through that energy of disempowerment, of the one who had been dethroned and was like on a journey to reclaim her divine power. And so I went on a very deep, like, deep journey with different queens. And I have come now to a different point of reference. And now the teachings, the wisdom, the magic I want to bring through for you today is not the dethroned queen who wants to reclaim the throne, but the embodied queen, the quantum queen, the enchanted queen, who is holding all of the magic of the other world unapologetically. Because the truth is, you can't create in the quantum being the disempowered queen trying to reclaim the throne. What you'll do is just create more similar experiences of disempowerment. And it's like, I'm just sharing this from my personal experience. That's what I saw. It wasn't enough that I remembered my past lives as queen. It wasn't enough because I started to still kind of create from that energy of like rising up from the ashes. And I am here, after a lot of different initiations, to help you today step into the magic of the other world, the quantum creative magic of the other world, so that you can really do what it is you're here to do. Because a king or a queen, when we look at them, like there's a certain responsibility they have to take care of those in their immediate sphere. They may be taking care of their children, their community, but also one of the things that we admire most in a king or queen is their ability to create, is their ability to have a vision, to have a dream, and see it come to life, to see it come to fruition. And for many of us, that is the true power of the creator or the creatrix, to have a vision, to have a dream, a vision, an inspiration, and to see it come to life. And to do it, we really need to be holding these codes of royalty in our hearts. And I'm sorry, I feel like Kathleen is like, I'm just talking like nonstop here. But I also want to connect. I'm actually gonna let Kathleen talk in a second, but I wanted to also just like make a connection that's coming through here. This is like a teaching. So part of the work that I also do, I mentioned I'm deeply connected with the Celtic mysteries, and I work very deeply with the Holy Grail. And so the Holy Grail is, mostly in the Arthurian legends, but like there is something that is a very, very integral part of Celtic culture, whether you are in Ireland, whether it is like Welsh mythology, whether it is like the Arthurian mysteries. And this is like the divine right of kings. And the divine right of kings essentially states the king, or in this case, the queen. It is their connection with the land that brings about whether it is the prosperity of the land or it becoming more desolate. So you'll see this. So when all different Celtic stories and legends, when the king, the queen, when they are generous, when they are good, when they're noble of heart, the land flourishes, the land thrives. And when the king or queen is more selfish, that's when the land becomes a barren wasteland. So the stories of the Holy Grail, you will see this. There is a king, the Fisher King, and he has turned his back essentially on the world and it becomes a wasteland. So I want to like draw your attention here because when we look at the world right now, we look at certain people in power who, in my opinion, should not have power. Like I'm just being very blunt here. And that's part of why these codes of queenship and kingship, they must pass to the people. They must pass to the people because the ones who are quote unquote in power are not true kings or queens. And so it is those of us who hold the light, who hold the codes of goodness in our heart. We are the ones that must bring these frequencies through, that must hold them. And so I'm just sharing this. So that's part of why, and this is again the Aquarian age. I don't think I've touched on this, but I'm sure some of Kathleen's other speakers have. We're really moving into the age of Aquarius. And so Aquarius, it's not the, I think when you look at, there's a beautiful chart that I refer to sometimes. There are different astrological ages, and the one directly opposite the age of Aquarius, if you looked at like I almost wish I had like a PowerPoint presentation, but you can look at the different astrological ages. 10,000 years ago, exactly opposite the age of Aquarius was the age of Leo. And so Leo is all about the king or the queen, the supreme leader, the royal power. And it's opposite Aquarius. And I'm sharing a little bit of my astrology here that I wasn't planning, but let me just tell you, for those of you, I'm sure pretty much everyone here has some knowledge in astrology. My sun sign is in Leo. So I'm very, very deeply connected with Leo. And also, there is something deeper in astrology called your North Node and your South Node. Your South Node represents like different past incarnations. Your North Node is your future, where you're headed. So I can tell you also, my South Node is in Leo. So it shows, again, different incarnations in royalty, holding those royal frequency, those royal codes. My North Node is in Aquarius. So I'm sharing this with you because there is a deep connection between Leo and Aquarius that people don't always recognize. And so really this deep connection is taking the frequencies, the energy of the age of Leo, which was about the sovereign, the leader, the king, the queen, and bringing this now into the age of Aquarius, where we have all of us holding these codes of leadership. And so there are different kinds of leaders. But for me, when I look at the king, the queen, the frequency, the energy that I am guardian of, that I bring through, it's the energy of the grail. The energy of the grail, this is the holiest of holies. And so this is not just happenstance. This is not just something from mythology. I venture that this is something very, very real. I hold this in my heart. I've experienced the power of the grail in my life. And so I want to share that when you're coming into the king codes, the queen codes, it's like, what do you love? What are you here to protect in the world? What are you here to create? Usually it's that thing you love the most. And so part of the grail energy, part of being the king, the queen, really it's the king, the queen. The queen is the heart of the kingdom. The queen is the heart. And so I'm really inviting everyone here. I know I mentioned there will be a guided journey, and I will, take you into your reason, your why you're called to step into your king codes or your queen codes here today. But I want to say that one of my personal journeys has been this initiation of the heart. And when I have made the most impact I've actually done, there are two different fundraisers I did to plant trees in Ireland. When I set, my intentions to do this, it came from the deepest, deepest part of my heart, that part of my heart that is the Grail. And so I share this with all of you in the hope that you can feel this. What is your deepest desire? What is your Grail quest? And so I'm just gonna like pause, take a step back from that because I know I've just thrown a lot of information, a lot of energy at you. But I do want to say there is other avenues of the queen that we can explore. There's a lot about the queen that has to do with like, personal sovereignty, magnetism, radiance, claiming your beauty. There's so many different aspects of the queen, and I've worked with the queen energy to really help with self-esteem, self-love, of course. But I think what's really coming through today, because this is a quantum container, to create on the quantum level, you must first and foremost believe in your power as a quantum manifestor, a quantum creator. So a king or queen, you've people have seen this in the films when they have the ability to command. That is when we see a king or queen as truly embodied in their own power. And so I share this with you because that's kind of really what I feel is wanting to be voiced, share it in this space. It's, there is a light being shined right now by the different queens who I've called in. They are really shining a light, and I invite them to shine that light even brighter, even bigger. Everyone on this call, the places you are still hiding, the places you are still not letting yourself be seen fully, owning your magnetism, owning your radiance, your power, your divine light. And I ask that this be illuminated now in your consciousness, in your awareness, and that you also receive the codes, the keys to fully unlock, to fully claim this here and now, once and for all. And so, again, just going back to this idea of quantum creation, and like I mentioned earlier, in all the different Celtic legends and mythologies, the different beings, they have to go to the other worlds. That's part of the initiation to become a true hero or heroine. And I share this because there's something about crossing that threshold into the other world that you come back with gems, you come back with jewels, the great mystery, the great magic of the other world. And that for the hero, the heroine, was part of them stepping into their divine power. And so this is something that I really want to share, whether you're looking at it through the lens of hero, through the lens of queen or king. This is really foremost about claiming divinity, sovereignty, power, your power to create in this world unapologetically. And really, when you're dealing with the true king, the true queen, you're creating from the heart. So I'm gonna take a breath. I know I just like shared a lot of different things, Kathleen. I'm not sure if there is anything you wanted to like dive more deeply into today. I mean, I know we have a lot more to cover, but if there's anything that really comes to mind.
I just love how you weave all of these stories and queens together. And what comes through for me, as well as with the Leo energy, is Leo's greatest work here to do on earth is to be that shining light, to shine as bright as they can, because this is what inspires others, and to do it unapologetically. And then that Aquarian energy is to how can we each take individual sovereign action for the greater whole. So I love that you bring those two polarities in, because it's really the time now. It's perfect actually with the Queen and King codes, that we each take our power, but because we are more powerful than anyone even knows. We have like 98% of unparalleled potential within our DNA just waiting to be activated and remembered. So we don't need to look to the guru or the presidents or the whoever's in power to look after us or make decisions for us, because we each are a queen or queendom with all of these different waves of lifetimes that we bring. And I really want to witness also the valor and the courage and the conviction that you bring, Elizabeth, in stepping into your full expression, even with your Libra rising, and maybe because of your Libra rising, right? Like Ma'at, um, she weighs a heart at the end when we
Mhm.
pass over. Yeah, so it's important that we live our life to the fullest expression and potential that we can, because if we don't, we're doing a disservice to ourselves and others. So I love that you bring this embodied courage and valor in following your story. So thank you.
Thank you. That actually brings almost like tears to my eyes because, Kathleen and I actually just recently connected because I was teaching a class for Jocelyn Starfeather's, like I hope I'm saying the Global School for Quantum Evolution. I always am. Yes, I did it. Yes, yes. And so that course was called. It was like Irish heroes and heroines, but there was a webinar that we did beforehand, and it was called Valor, valor and heroism in Irish mythology. And it was a whole class about holding valor. And so for me, it's interesting, like I kind of just want to weave this in. The inspiration for that originally was that there are so many Arthurian legends. Like we have like King Arthur holding that kind of valor, like the Knights of the Round Table, everyone being equal, and like not seeing like that kind of valor as much in the Irish myths and legends, but yet I knew that it was there. We just had to look a little bit more deeply. And so I'm sharing this because this, like, I love King Arthur. I love King Arthur, and so these are the king codes that want to come through. And I also really feel what's coming through. I feel his energy right now. uh he has such a deep love of the feminine, and so right before the call, Kathleen and I were just talking, and I went off for a second to get ready. And I was out of nowhere, I felt Guinevere's energy drop in. And that's why I wanted to talk about the Enchanted Queen, because for so long in the beginning of my journey, I very much identified, like I mentioned, the Morrigan, and I have to tell you, when I mentioned like, oh, I used to work with the Morrigan, you have to understand that by used to work, I mean that goddess, that queen was literally in my field this morning giving me messages. So I have to tell you, it's not used to. It's like she's like my for life friend, this goddess like slash warrior queen. But I was very identified with her, in the very beginning of my journey, because I had that kind of like warrior energy. And that's again why I also love Arthur. And so many of us, especially very strong women, very strong men, we have that warrior archetype within us. And so I wanted to like really draw attention to the Morrigan, because I just feel her being like, talk about me. And so she is the warrior queen, the warrioress, the warrior goddess. And so just because like you are the queen does not mean you don't fight hard for what you love, for what you believe in. And so the Morrigan, like, she is the one that invites you to rise in the face of impossible odds. She will be there with you. She is like, often connected with a raven or a crow. I sometimes have felt her like land on my shoulder, like in these very, in these moments where I'm deeply challenged. And yet it's hard to carry that for such a long time, because that's, the purpose of being here. It is not just to be the warrior, it is also to have that joy. And that's why I really wanted to bring through the energy of Guinevere, because Guinevere is the fairy queen. People may not know this, but like, if you look at the regular movies of Guinevere, you may not recognize it. Actually, she's holding the energy of fairy queen. And there are different stories, especially there's a lot of work by a wonderful writer named Wendy Berg. And this is a very, very deep, look. If you ever read any of Wendy Berg's books, she'll actually show you through the different mythology, like essentially, like, I mean, again, this is all up to everyone's interpretation, but really I feel a great resonance with these teachings that Guinevere really came from the other world. And so, when Arthur, connected with her, it was this like, this sacred marriage between like the human world and the world of Fae. And so I share this. I don't want to go on a whole thing right now about all the fairies, but what I want to share though is like, going back to Arthur, it's that Arthur was this great love of the divine feminine, a great lover of the enchanted realms, a great lover of magic. And so when I connect with Arthur, Kathleen, you were talking about the valor with which I spoke. And I really feel like that's also one of the ancient codes of the king, the queen, that they come forth with valor. They stand for what others fear to stand for because they have to do it. That's the whole thing. Someone has to stand for what is right and what is good. And you look, I have to, this is one thing I have to, I've been sharing recently that I've suddenly come into this new manifestation of self where I need to be fully in my magic, fully in my power. And one of the reasons that this has come, anyone who took that course that I just taught, and that was one of the hardest courses I ever taught because my grandfather was passing like almost the entire time I was teaching that. My grandfather was about to pass to the other world to pass on, and he actually finally did pass on. It was like the day after that course ended, and I felt since his transition, I feel him still with me, that I have to be his voice in the world. I was someone who, especially again, like that Libra people pleasing. And people can tell from my accent that I am American. And for so long, I didn't really connect with being American. I was so much more connected to the Celtic myths and legends that those are my ancestry. It's in my blood. But my grandfather was a hardcore, like my grandfather was a US Navy man. Like he fought in World War II and he fought for what was noble, what was right, what was good. And he always spoke his mind. It didn't matter what room he was in, he spoke his truth. He always spoke. I just feel so much emotion in my heart right now. He spoke about what he believed in. And I share this because my grandfather, Kathleen, when we called in, everyone during the sacred circle, you called in the ancestors. And so we have to be the voice for those who have passed on. And not everyone will have to speak, the same way. Not everyone will have to be a voice in the same way. But I can say that for me, with my grandfather being gone, I have to now be that voice again, like unapologetically. And that's part of being the king or the queen. I truly, truly feel that it's again, like there are a lot of people um, there are a lot of people in this world that they have beautiful ideas, but they don't always speak their heart fully. And so I think that that's part of what comes to us in this age where we need valor. We need valor, we need courage more than ever before, because without valor, without courage, how will we create this new world? And this is part of the Aquarian age. We are here, all of us together, to create something new, to create something spectacular. And we do it together from an alignment in our heart of hearts with the courage of Arthur, the courage of the ancient world come again. And so for many of us who are here on the sacred gathering, many of us, this is not our first rodeo. We have lived many, many lifetimes, and we have lived all these lessons, and we have come here in this one to create something beyond our wildest dreams, to create this new world together.
And we're doing this upon the shoulders of all of our ancestors who came before, right? And we are the new ancestors. So let's not wait anymore. Let's do it for our great great grandchildren or our great global family who are coming after us. Let's create the magic. Let's live the magic, bring the magic back so they don't have to fight for the magic or feel that, they can't speak about magic without being
Mhm.
put down because really, magic makes the most common sense, in my opinion. Really, it
It
really does.
does. No, it absolutely does. And I'm so grateful that you said that, because I think that's part of the quantum queen. So we're going to switch gears for a second. I have a couple more queens we're going to talk about. So I mentioned earlier the Queen of Sheba. I mentioned Cleopatra. I also am going to talk a little about this beautiful queen goddess Rhiannon. So these are three queens that wanted to be present today. So I've been a little bit more like, I feel like we did like the zoomed out version of the queen, and now I want to zoom in. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about Cleopatra. So Cleopatra, great ally. If you've never worked with Cleopatra before, I highly recommend calling her in. I think we may do that in our activation later. She has helped me with so much, with confidence, with courage, with really holding my magnetism. And for those of you who may not be familiar, Cleopatra really, she fundamentally believed herself to be an incarnation of the goddess Isis. So again, we're seeing the deep connections like between the queen and the goddess. So the queen is the bridge between this world and the other world. We see this in Egypt. That's why I think I wanted to start with Cleopatra, because that was one of the ancient beliefs. So for those of you who are not as familiar with Egyptian history, Cleopatra is the last pharaoh. She is the last pharaoh queen. And so she was holding all of the history, all of the lineage, all of the power of that within her. So she saw herself first and foremost as an embodiment of the goddess Isis. So I believe that all of us hold a spark of divinity within. But I want to just like really take a moment to presence Cleopatra. And so Cleopatra, many of you guys are very familiar. She had, love affair with Julius Caesar, love affair with Mark Antony. And so one of the divine, beautiful powers that we can work with Cleopatra is, of course, beauty. And, really harnessing. And so another goddess that Cleopatra was very connected to was Aphrodite. And Mark Antony, who was, her second great beloved, was very much a fan of the Greek pantheon, the Greek traditions. At that point, Rome was in power. Greece was no longer as powerful as it had once been. But and everyone's heard the story, but I love to tell it. When Mark Antony first laid eyes on Cleopatra, she had this gigantic ship. It was this beautiful barge, and she had the sails, they had been soaked in rose water. And she was dressed all decked out in the likeness of Aphrodite herself. And not just when I say decked out in the likeness, I mean holding the energy of this goddess, the goddess in form. And when Mark Antony laid eyes on her, imagine this. In the distance, he sees this great and glorious ship, all of the rose, the symbol of the divine feminine, all of that energy for those of you who do not know that flowers hold frequency, the rose is actually the highest frequency, the highest vibrational flower. So he took this in this beautiful scent. This is a scent that brings people into the majesty of the other worlds. And then he beheld her there, and it was love at first sight. So we could go more deeply into, of course, like there's a lot of love magic between Anthony and Cleopatra. It's one of the great loves of history. But what I want to share is in that moment, Cleopatra steps into quantum beauty. So that's so when I talk about quantum queen, what does that mean? They're all different aspects of holding that quantum queen energy. And one of those is quantum beauty. And so again, I'm sharing that this is the beauty of the other world, and she's holding her highest beauty. So that's one thing too, for every single person here. When we look at the quantum is infinite possibility. So you have all different versions of you. You have all different iterations. You at your most magnificent, you at your most beautiful, you at your most the word that's coming through is magnetic and charming. And I mean it in the sense of the most beautiful that you will ever be is when you feel beautiful. So when you feel beautiful, truly, truly beautiful, that's when everyone else feels that too. So that's really the quantum shift right there. So I know that Kathleen definitely has other speakers talking about this, but a lot of times we think quantum is this huge, huge thing. It can be, but usually it's actually quantum is something that's very minuscule. It's a tiny, tiny shift. And that tiny, tiny shift changes everything. So when you really believe, like, and this is another queen that I work with. I've worked with a lot of queens. There's a Helen of Troy energy as well. I have this beautiful, I think at some point I may do a master class with Helen of Troy. But I have worked with that energy where Helen of Troy brings through one of her codes, because Helen of Troy was seen as the most beautiful woman in the ancient world. And so it's holding that code within your heart. I am the most beautiful woman. And holding this code, it does not negate the beauty of the others around you. But in that moment, of course, you're the most beautiful woman in the world because you're the divine. There could there could be no one more beautiful because you are divinity itself, divinity expressed. So Helen of Troy, she really holds that code. That's a key code. That she brings through. And I feel in this moment, going back to Cleopatra, this is the key code of quantum beauty. So it's holding like this, just a tiny little shift in consciousness, a tiny little shift in perception. And from that, the world opens up. You enter into a space of beauty and softness. And it's in that space of softness that we open truly to infinite potential and possibility. Because when we are in that space, people who are trying to create, and I know that I've done this myself, when you want something so badly, we cling to it, we grip it. It's almost like, I must have this. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know everyone here knows that the second you do that, the manifestation moves further away. It's like, so yeah, we don't want to cling to things. But it's through that softening. It's through that softening, like the rose, that we magnetize those things to us. And so I really feel that part of it is, us really knowing that we are the divine beloved. So for Cleopatra, so she, like I just said, that is like a code of like really quantum beauty, but there's also codes of quantum love. And so again, they're all different queen codes here, but I'm just sharing that for Cleopatra, that kind of knowing just how lovable she was. And when you know how deserving you are, deserving of the finest things in life, the very best in life, that's a queen code right there. When you feel that on the deepest level of your being, all the things open for you because it's this energy of deservability and worthiness. And it's interesting. Again, going back to the Grail, there are different stories, and also in the Norse mythology, we have Thor and we have Thor's hammer. And I know many of you have seen the Marvel film, but there's that line: only he who is worthy can hold Thor's hammer. So there are a lot of things too with the Grail. Only one who is truly worthy can find the Grail. And so I share this because like they're all different like ways of looking at worthiness. On a deeper level, we are all divine, we are all one, we are all innately worthy of the finest, the best things in life. And yet there's also a certain worthiness that comes because there is how do I say this? I think there are different levels of awakening and awareness. And, all of us, anyone listening to this, you've been on a journey. And I think, where you are right now, if you look at where you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you can definitely see, the softening, the awakening, the different movements of consciousness that you have experienced. And so the more that we open, the more that we soften, the more that we really hold the heart of the Grail, the more that we step into the innate worthiness of our own divinity. So that's a bit of a mouthful. I don't want to get too esoteric, but what I share though, going back to Cleopatra, this code of quantum love is just like really is really holding yourself as the divine beloved. And I know it's funny because I was talking about queens and all of a sudden I've gone on this whole tangent about love and beauty. But isn't that when we look at the queens that we admire the most, don't we see them being so graceful, being so beautiful? Isn't that what draws us to them? And so those queens, like they are holding that energy of just knowing how much they deserve the best in life, the finest things in life, because they innately are worthy. They know they have such deep love. for the human experience, such deep love. And that's how they're able to open to receive it. So for anyone who is like here today, that might be another reason that you've, been called to this space, and that's to open the next level of your own openness, willingness to receive. And so this really comes as I'm talking about this, I really feel this in my solar plexus. And that's, like it's the seat of power, but I also feel that a lot of, especially women, I think that we have a lot of blocks to receiving the true goodness in life, like the things that we long for the most. And there's a bit of a paradox here, and I'm going to take a breath in a second, but I feel all this wanting to come through. I just said that when you really, really want something, you don't want to grasp too hard. Because when you do that, of course, like we kind of repel it and push it away. And yet the paradox is it's like that way to really be quantum queens of creation. It's really kind of deepening in like the lushness of our own human experience. It's like it is the softening of the queen. And so that's another thing. So I mentioned Cleopatra. I just mentioned the queen of I mentioned the Helen of Troy, but I'm gonna take another detour. I'm gonna take a sip of water here.
I just want to quickly add in that my Taurus rising is just, this is all so delicious. So I just wanted to.
Oh, I'm so
And
glad. I was like, yes, because I was all like valor and heroism. And then I'm like, okay, let's get luxurious.
I feel with both of us, your Libra rising and my Taurus rising, we can't have this conversation without love, being children of Venus,
I
right?
I know. So yes, of course. Thank you. Yes, I think that's also because you're holding that space with me. Oh, I love that. But so I want to also share, so going on this love theme, another queen of love, and this also queen of abundance is the Queen of Sheba. So this queen, I actually call her, I believe her true name is Makeda. So I feel her as I'm calling her in. And it's so funny because I've worked with Makeda at different times and people will recognize her from the Bible. And especially like I am very grateful to my parents because I was not raised with religion. And I know on a soul level, I chose that coming in. And my dad, it's so funny because in this lifetime, he actually probably is one of my greatest teachers. And he's one of the people that on a human level, I faced conflict with him growing up. But now I finally have shifted into a place of such like love and gratitude. And I share this though, because my father, for some reason this is coming up to presence, he was more in that masculine role of someone who did not give freely. He really didn't give freely, and he didn't give love freely. He didn't give gifts freely. And I share this because when I connected with the Queen of Sheba, she was a revelation for me because the Queen of Sheba, like people have heard different expressions. Who does she think she is, the Queen of Sheba? Because in the Bible, that's what I was going to say. My father was very adamant that he didn't want me or my sister raised with religion, and I am so grateful to this. Like in my heart of hearts, I'm so grateful. So when I talk about the Queen of Sheba, I can honestly I can say in full truth that this is not coming from any lens. And so this being connecting with me from the other side, this really was her deep, deep, deep desire, wanting to be expressed in the world and also wanting me to fully claim. For me, it's that ability. I get to have the finest things in life. I get to have, deep love, deep abundance. And those are the things that the Queen of Sheba really holds. So I'm just going to share for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Queen of Sheba, I actually have a whole, I might have taken this off my YouTube channel, but I had this 3-day challenge I think it was the beginning of 2024, and it was a 3-day queen challenge, and one day was on the Queen of Sheba. And so it was interesting because people have looked at the Queen of Sheba for ages, wondering where did she come from. There's stories of the Queen of Sheba in Ethiopia, there are other stories of her in different parts of the Middle East, but everyone knows that she comes by camel. She comes with a whole entourage and travels for in the stories it's like 40 days through the desert to make it to the Temple of Solomon. When she gets the Temple of Solomon, she's there with all of the riches, all of the wealth of her kingdom. And when she arrives, it's like they have this instant, there is a soul connection between them. They are destined to be together. And I share this because, again, this is, and for anyone who has really gone deeply with the Queen of Sheba, uh, she really opens up. There's a lot of like ancient sexuality, like the highest level, like the mysteries, like the great mysteries of the cosmos. She really brings these to Solomon. And like when they come together, it is like, yes, she brings the wealth of the kingdom, but she comes to Solomon because in the stories, he is the wisest man on earth. And she comes to him with riddles, and she comes, if you are truly the wisest man on earth, can you answer? Can you answer my three riddles? And so I share this because there's a certain like wooing that he must do, in order to really open. Like she comes to him with all of the wealth of ages. She comes with, like I said, there's like gold and jewels that she brings with her, but that's not the true treasure. She, Makeda, is the true treasure. And I say this because in that moment I couldn't just say the Queen of Sheba. I had to use her true name. And the reason I say this is because the more that I've connected with the kings and queens, and I've also connected with Mark Antony, who I mentioned, who was Cleopatra's great love. And when we tell these stories of Cleopatra or Mark Antony, we tell stories of mythic figures. It's almost like they're not real people because we put them on pedestals. We've crafted characters of them. And when I was connecting these last few months, I've had Mark Antony come through very strongly for me. And he wanted me to know, like, he's like, I love, you may call her Cleopatra and you may see her in your mind's eye with all of her regalia and all of her history and all of the legacy that she left Egypt. But when I looked at her, I just saw the face of the woman I loved. And I want to just impart that to you because that's his message to me. Like, that's what I've heard. Like, he just wants me to know how much he loved her on a soul level. And so that's the whole thing, is when we step into like being the king, being the queen, we must also recognize that this is something that we are donning a crown. We are taking on a certain archetypal energy, a certain power that we claim. But at the end of the day, there's a spark of your soul that is beyond the king, beyond the queen, a part of your soul that is just your unique essence. It is beyond king, beyond queen. It is pure divinity, and it's just you. And there is no one in all of creation that holds this essence but you. And that's the part of us that we're crowning. That's the part of us that is just so holy, so worthy beyond words. And so that's part of, like, this is one of the mysteries. And so when, Solomon and Sheba, they see each other, I said, it's not just that Solomon, the king of Israel, like, there's not just that he sees the Queen of Sheba, but in this moment, their souls connect beyond name. It's like beyond form. And so there is an element too of, this is, again, I think this is more the Solomon and Sheba mysteries, because they're very mystical beings, these two figures. And so it's probably beyond the scope of today's call to dive very, very deeply into their union. But I do want to share, and I'm gonna take a sip of water because I have something that's coming through. It just felt very important when I opened today's call. And I immediately was like, okay, I'm calling in Guinevere's divine counterpart. I'm calling in Arthur, Isis's divine counterpart. I had a call in all the divine counterparts. And I'm sharing this because, I feel, again, it's, I wanted this to be a call, whether you are, whatever you identify with, like, king or queen, I wanted this to be a call that would appeal to everyone. But yet it's also about the union of souls. It's us coming together, whether it's romantically or, again, that big Aquarian energy. This is like the king or queen. It's about us coming together. It's not about being the monk on the mountain. The king or queen is not the monk on the mountain. The king or queen is in service to the community. The king or queen is one with the people. And so that's really what I want to bring through. It's all about connection. It is all about connection. And I just want to share though. So a lot of this connection, like, yes, like we inhabit these human forms, but also if Solomon and Sheba teach us anything, it's that there's so much happening on the level of the formless. And when we come to this earth to be great guardians and stewards, that's the true role of the king or queen, to be a guardian steward of the land. And that could be, you could be the king of your own castle, you could be the king of your home, the queen of your home. It could be, if you are, if you have your own business, maybe you are king or queen of your business, or if you're a teacher, you're king or queen of your classroom. But what I mean to say though is that on another level, it's your divine essence. That's the part of you that's really leading. That's the part of you that's ruling. It's this ineffable, innate part of you that is divinity itself. And that's the part I just want to take a moment to just like breathe in and let everyone connect. What is your unique core essence? This is something beyond words, beyond form. And this is the part of you beyond words, beyond form. I invite you to see a crown. And this crown could be gold, it could have jewels on it. See this divine essence as if it were an energy. It could be swirling, it could be gold, it could be purple, it could be sparkling. This divine essence, really see this as if it had a color, a shape, a form, and see this golden crown being placed upon it. And we're crowning your unique divine essence right here, right now. And this is part of you stepping into your quantum queen, quantum king codes, because this is how you're creating. You are creating as that part of you beyond form, the part that is divinity itself, that knows no limitation, that knows only infinite possibility. And just like going to take a moment here, and this is not the guided journey. This is just something that I'm feeling guided to walk you through. But I just invite you to really drop into your heart, feel that essence, see that crown being placed over your essence. And now I'm also calling in the energy of the Holy Grail. And you can see this grail energy. You can see the grail in your heart. You can see your whole physical form as holding the grail. This could be a very big grail that is surrounding you, encasing you. But I invite you to really feel the essence. This is the greatest love of your heart, the greatest love of your soul. This is the power of creation itself expressed through you. And feel your own innate queenship, kingship, your innate essence. Feel it merge with the power, the frequency of the grail. And so some of you may have felt that very strongly. Others that might have just been something that you felt, my words, you felt the frequency, the energy. I invited just to wash over you, and whatever you received, that was absolutely perfect. And Kathleen, I'm not sure if you felt anything there in that moment.
Yeah, I saw my crown as this beautiful golden woven leaves with these rubies that very much deeply connected to my womb and the power of my womb. And then, yeah, just the Holy Grail. It's like my whole body became that vessel, that sacred chalice. So it's just beautiful, Elizabeth. Mm.
Thank you. No, that just like came in so strongly. And they're all different legends. It's very interesting because for some reason there's stories of the king of oh my God, my brain is just so in this transmission right now. King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Queen of Sheba is sometimes referred to as the Grail Queen. And it's kind of funny because we're like, wait, what? Like, so the Holy Grail is so very connected to the Celtic myths, to Celtic legends. And yet if we really look back at the Grail, there are also stories, of course, like some people see the Grail as like the blood of Christ, the blood of Christ, like the vessel that caught the blood. But I really see, even if that was one grail, I see the grail as just this very ancient vessel. It's a mystical, it's a mystical vessel holding the highest codes of creation and truth. And I believe that this existed even in the age of Leo, even 10,000 years ago. There's so much mystery that we are just uncovering. And what's coming through, and there's just so much Egypt energy as well here. We just went very, very ancient. When we look at the pyramids in Egypt, and I know everyone is familiar, with this, but we don't know how they did it. We don't know, like, how are these bricks? How are they lined just so? And I had a very similar experience. I was in Vietnam, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And there's a temple there. It's called Misan. And there's a lot of history there. Um, and it's interesting though, because I'll just say this, like it was bombed during by the Americans during the Vietnam War. And so there are these ancient bricks that have been placed. And this place has actually now become a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So they tried to replace the bricks from where they had been. They have been, the bombs had hit them and the bricks had like been blasted away. And it's interesting because you can see the ancient bricks. If you ever go to this site, you can take my word for it. There is not like, there isn't an inch between these bricks. They are so expertly placed, like nothing can come between them. And then you see the bricks that, they use like the most modern technology. This was in the last 10 or 15 years. They tried to replicate the technology that was used to create these ancient temple complexes. And the bricks are beautiful, but between the bricks, you see all these little plants, you see all these little things growing because they could not replicate the technology. They still don't know, like, how those people thousands of years ago, how they were able to get the bricks to get like that without, with nothing in between. So I'm sharing this with you because we see something similar in Egypt. We're like, how did they do this? And so this is again tying into the theme of this entire summit, quantum creation. And so I want to really when we talk about quantum creation, we're also talking quantum magic. So when we are talking like quantum magic, we really are looking at very, very ancient sources. We are looking at Egypt. We are looking at Ireland. We're looking at civilizations that are thousands of years old. And so we look at like different queens, like, even in the last 500 years, a lot of the queens I mentioned, there was more trauma, there was more usurping of the throne. There's, a lot of dark ages humanity has experienced. But when we go back, to the age of Leo, when we go back like 10,000 years, this is really the age of like, Solomon and Sheba. This is also the age. I want to say, it's so funny. I have all this stuff that's just like streaming through right now. There is just so much high magic. And I was once in a call with someone. I was conducting an interview. I was hosting my own summit, and the summit was called High Magic. And I was divinely guided to put it together. And out of nowhere, I was talking to someone who was a channel, and Queen Nefertiti came through. And so she's again like, very ancient queen. And out of nowhere, because I was letting these questions channel through me in the moment. I had questions prepared that day for the woman I was interviewing, and I put them all away. And I said, no, oh, no, 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 these aren't the questions. And I suddenly was in conversation with Queen Nefertiti, this ancient divine Egyptian queen. And out of nowhere, I was asking, can you tell us more about the magic you used? Can you tell us about the magic? And out of nowhere, this phrase came through, the holy magic you used. And there was a laugh, the woman was channeling, channeling Nefertiti. And Nefertiti was pleased with me. She's like, you remembered holy magic, something that most have forgotten. And so I'm sharing this with you because when we look at these ancient cultures, when we look at how did they do what they did, they were using something called holy magic. So this is, again, we were looking earlier at the Holy Grail. There's a reason that we're using the word holy here. And when we look at, the ancient kings and queens of Egypt, I hope everyone's following me. I know I'm talking very quickly here, but the lineage of pharaohs originally, the pharaohs were the incarnation of divinity in form. They were more like avatars. And over the years, like there were some pharaohs, we're all very familiar with this. Like there was more corruption that happened in Egypt, and like those high lineages, like they stopped holding, the energy of pure divinity, the energy of the avatars. And that's why Cleopatra to me was so powerful, because she really was coming back. She was the last pharaoh queen, and she was holding a lot of that original holy magic. Like she was still holding that. And for many pharaohs in between, it had been lost. So when we go back, I said like to the age of Leo, when we go back to that 10,000 years ago, we see these ancient leaders, these ancient kings and queens, using holy magic. And again, this is magic. When we talk about the Holy Grail, this will only work if you come from the purest part of your heart, of your soul. This is your deep connection with source. You cannot use the mind to get there. You cannot will this. This is just your deepest connection. And that's why a few moments ago was inviting you to get in touch with that essence that is you, because that's the part of you that can connect to this holy magic. And a lot of these teachings were lost. But when we connect with beings like Nefertiti, when we connect with these queens and we step into this high level power, this high level magic, that's when we can really bring this through into the modern world again. So I'm sorry. I know that was a lot. Kathleen, I'm sorry. I don't even know what just happened. I was just like taken over. I hope that was all easy for you to follow.
Just so magic. Yeah, just absolutely deeply honored and receptive of the whole transmission. Thank you, Elizabeth. And we're still in for a treat with our journey.
I know. I was like, don't worry, there's still a journey. It's like, okay, so I don't know what's coming here, but okay, I invite you to take a deep breath. I know that I think I just brought everyone like really quantum. So I'm inviting everyone to really come into your body and really see, like, at the bottom of your feet, I invite you to see these beautiful tree trunks forming, and see these roots forming at the base of your feet, going down, 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 wherever you are, whether you're in a house, an apartment, see these roots coming down and really anchoring into the center of the earth, and really see them anchoring, wrapping around the crystalline heart of Mother Earth herself. Take a moment to feel yourself one with the earth. Take a moment to ground in this space. I invite you to think of a memory, a time when you were outside, when you connected deeply with the earth herself, when she shared her wisdom, her magic with you. And now come back into your body. And I'm actually being guided. We're going to go into the space of the Akashic Records. For those of you who have not worked with me before, have not worked with the records, you can choose not to do this. But if you are open, the records are they're a cosmic library of infinite possibility. I work with them usually like one-on-one, but I just feel very much guided in this like divine container to open us up into the records. So the way that I do this, there are 5 prompts that I'm going to lead you through. And at the very end, I'm actually going to say, I now open up the Akashic Records of, and I'm going to use my full name, but this is where you would use your full name. And the records will open. I am an Akashic Records practitioner. And so there is an attunement in my energy field. The records will open for you. And so this is something that is going to open us like even deeper into our journey to receive these king and queen codes. Okay. So just follow along with me. What you have to do for these prompts is very simple. You just have to say the word Om. Okay. So with this I relax my body. Om. With this I relax my mind. Om. With this I release my ego. Om. With this I call in the light. Om. And now here's where you're going to use your full name. With this I open up the Akashic records of Elizabeth Dillon Bercovici. Om. The records are now open. You may feel this. You may feel a different frequency, different energy. And you might not feel, you might not feel anything, but just know that, whatever you're feeling is perfect. If you chose not to open the records, don't worry. You are still going to go on a very magical journey here today. And so now I invite you to just like really feel the frequency, the energy of this space. We've entered the realm of infinite possibility and potential, your highest timeline. And so I invite you to really close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and now feel yourself moving through time and space. And we're actually going to a very ancient temple in Egypt. And at this glorious sacred temple in Egypt, you find yourself in an old pyramid. In this pyramid, you see before you, there is a gorgeous bowl, a beautiful basin full of rose petals. You're invited to reach your hands into this glorious basin and take this rose water, splash it all over your face. Really feel this all over your body, moving this water, taking it to your throat, your chest, your heart, putting some on your crown, moving it to your different chakras. Take a moment to really come into energetic alignment with the high frequency, the power of the rose, softening us here in this high holy moment. A beautiful figure comes into the back of the temple. This is the great and glorious Cleopatra. See her there. She has a beautiful headdress with a gorgeous snake. And as you approach her, you may feel your own Kundalini energy activating in her presence. But you also feel first and foremost this beautiful opening of the heart. Cleopatra walks over to you. I invite you to introduce yourself to her. If this is your first time connecting with her at a sacred space, really open yourself, heart, mind, body, and soul. Tell her your name. Let her feel your energy. And as you're talking to her, you may actually feel things in your body that are wanting and ready to release. You may feel this in your physical vessel. Really feel into your body now. Is there anything that's ready to go? Anything that doesn't align with this deeply empowered queen version of you that you are becoming in this now moment that you are choosing, that you're stepping into? And all of a sudden, Cleopatra reaches her hand into the rose water. She anoints your crown and third eye. And take this moment to really feel the codes that Cleopatra is bringing through. The queen codes of divine love and divine beauty. She places a hand on your heart. Really feel heart, mind, body, and soul being activated. And now she takes this beautiful basin of rose water, which is still full. It's a beautiful basin that doesn't empty, no matter how much water is used. And she places this drop by drop. She places this on your crown. And as this water suddenly falls down, it's like raindrops caressing you. All of a sudden, you feel this water become golden, golden light, as if it suddenly crystallizes and becomes a sun. Feel yourself one with the energy of creation itself, and feel yourself become golden. And from the temple door, Another great figure appears. This is the Queen of Sheba herself. And you can see her, the most elegant woman in the world. See the Queen of Sheba wearing the most extraordinary gown you have ever beheld. See her with gold in her hair. And as you come close to her, feel the love in her heart, the radiance that's exuding. She bows to you. She bows to you. And she has a different flower that she brings with her. And in this flower, as she hands it to you, it blooms. And inside, you see there's something precious. There is a beautiful, beautiful gem. And as you see the gem, I invite you to really look deeply into this. Look into the gem and see it get bigger and bigger and bigger till suddenly it's the size of a crystal ball. And as you look into this crystal ball, maybe it's the color of ruby, maybe it's amethyst, maybe it's purple. Look deeply into this crystal ball and all of a sudden see the infinite possibilities. See what your soul is most longing to step into, to create. Take a moment to open yourself to divine sight. For here in this space, anything is possible. Perhaps there's nothing that you see, but perhaps just ideas that you have, energy you receive. Open in this moment to really step into your unlimited potential and possibility. Look deeper and deeper and deeper into this crystal ball that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, suddenly glowing all different colors. And now Cleopatra and the Queen of Sheba hold this together as it grows bigger and bigger. And as you look inside, you see yourself in this crystal ball, you as the divine queen that you are. You see yourself fully embodied in your power, your magnificence, your divinity. This crystal ball grows even bigger till suddenly it's the size of the temple itself. It glows luminescent. You place a hand against it, and all of a sudden, the outer crystal shatters. And just all around you, you see this beautiful cloud of mist. And the future version of you, the queenly version of you, stands before you. Take a moment to really see her there. She holds the power of this great ruby, this great amethyst, this great crystal. She holds the power of creation itself. Know her as you. What is she wearing? Take a moment to really see this queen version of you in all her glory, to welcome her. See if she has any words of wisdom for you, any messages. Beautiful. This future version of you, this queenly version, places a hand on your heart. And now just open to receive whatever codes, whatever energy you're meant to receive today. Any gifts that you are meant to receive in this quantum space, we open for you to receive them. Anything that's meant to be released, healed, or cleared, we surrender now. We call upon our highest level guides and team for ultimate alchemy and clearing. Just open heart, mind, body, and soul to release and receive whatever you are meant to release and receive today. Know this happening instantly. And now, if it feels in alignment, you may merge with this divine queenly version of you. Or if you prefer, you can just receive a blessing. Whatever you choose to do is perfect. If you choose to merge with this queenly version of you, do so with an open heart, a full heart. And let this alchemy, let this becoming happen, let it occur. And now in this temple space, all of a sudden, you see a symbol appear before you. Perhaps it's a hieroglyph, perhaps it's something else. It appears in the ether. And now, Cleopatra and the Queen of Sheba, Each of them takes one of your hands, and each of them brings you a rose. Take a moment now to feel their love and see if there are any final messages for you in this high, holy space. And we call in the overlighting presence of Queen Nefertiti. We call in high, holy magic for those who have the hearts truly meant to wield it. We call in holy magic for the most sacred, most luscious creations of your heart. In this moment, open to the divine intimately, without fear. Open to the holy magic of the age of Leo, the holy magic of Queen Nefertiti. And whatever you're wanting to create, to become, to step into, just feel this holy magic washing over you, through you, like great purple light swirling down from the heavens. And take a moment to feel the ancientness of this. Now you are divinely supported. And now, really, in your heart of hearts, imagine, feel what you want to create in the world or what you want to become. Know that you have the power to do this, to be this. Hold this power freely, unapologetically, with all that you are. And we call in your highest timeline, the highest unfolding of your life. And now just see if there are any final messages that want to come through, anything that you're meant to see or to know. Beautiful. Receive a final blessing from the rose, a final blessing from these queens. And now take one last look at this place. Utter your gratitude, your thanks for all the beings who are here today supporting us. And now feel yourself transported back through time and space to the room where you first began today's magnificent journey. Come home to yourself. Once more, connect with the essence within your heart. Feel the crown, crowning your unique soul essence. This is the key to you being the quantum queen. And now take another deep breath. You might want to rub your hands together, move your feet against the floor. Come back into this now moment. And come back now, fully holding the codes of royalty, sovereignty, and divinity. The energy is still moving, and you might just see this. I'm seeing it. There's like this golden, it's like a vortex that's holding each and every one of you listening to this. And I see your heart's being activated, open, open, open. This is the high holy magic. This is the high holy magic. And you may feel things being cleared. I'm personally feeling this in my throat chakra, my lower chakras as well. And I'm just really calling up anything that needs to be released. I call all the guides that we've called in today. I also call upon the great goddess Sekhmet and call in Isis. I also call in Mary Magdalene, great gods and goddesses who are here with us in this holy space. I feel the presence of the Celtic goddess Bridget. Help us release what needs to be released here, that all of us may step into our quantum selves. And just breathe through this. Let this release, let this move through you here and now. Don't be afraid. Just let it move. Let it move. And truly open to let whatever needs to be released, let it go. And from the space of emptiness, you become the Grail King, the Grail Queen. and anchor this into your body now. So we just went very high vibrational. So I'm inviting you to really bring this into your body right here, right now. And the way I'm being shown for you to do this, I invite you into a practice of sacred love. And I'm going to say, and you can just feel what I'm saying. Thank you, hands. Thank you, beautiful hands, for all the things you do for me. The writing, the writing that I do, the eating that I do. I thank my feet and my legs for walking. I thank my arms. I thank every single part of my body. I thank my bones. I thank my blood. I thank my heart, my organs, my lungs. I connect with each and every cell in my body. And I bring all of this now into this new frequency, this new resonance. Every cell in my body holding the energy of quantum queen, quantum light, quantum king for those men who are listening. Really anchoring this in on a cellular level. Okay. Taking a deep breath and coming back. Okay. Sorry, Kathleen. I don't know how long that went.
Oh, this has just been the most exquisite time and space for the senses. I mean, just you had me at rose water sails, just mixing with the ocean spray. I mean, what a gift. Thank you for your time so much, Elizabeth. And I know that you have a beautiful free gift for our audience, and so that they can connect in with you. And also, I'd love to put your YouTube channel underneath this interview so people can come and see some of the transmissions that you've spoken of. But just can you tell us a little bit about your free gift?
Yes, I would love to. So my free gift is actually something I put together a couple weeks ago for the equinox. And it's a beautiful, it's like a 2-hour masterclass with the goddess and queen, Rhiannon. And so this was originally a paid masterclass that was offered at the equinox. And when I like tuned in for today, what wanted to come through is the free gift. Rhiannon was like, I want to come through. And so Rhiannon is a goddess of love and freedom. She is in the Welsh mythology, she is the goddess of horses. And she's also a goddess of magic. So there's a beautiful, I think there's 2 activations in that. I'm in that masterclass with her again. Like this was originally a paid offering at the time of the equinox, but there is I feel like Rhiannon, like there is a push from this beautiful, she's a goddess and queen, in the legends and the stories she's a queen, but you can work with her now on the other side. And she is someone, so like I think part of like why so many of us like we work in the quantum as like as creators or creatrixes, we're trying to create freedom. We're creating freedom, and that's I really feel one of Rhiannon's great gifts. And, today we work with Cleopatra and the Queen of Sheba. And so those 2 queens, like they're beauty goddesses, they're love goddesses, love queens, love god. I'm rambling here. I know this is Quantum Queen and I'm saying the word goddess, but really to me, the queen is goddess in form. So if you want to connect with a different queen that I didn't touch on as much in today's call, definitely, sign up for this beautiful masterclass with Rhiannon. It's, 2 hours. There's some of her mythology, her history, but there's also like, I remember, giving this masterclass. I woke up that morning and she just was like, oh, like basically just like start talking and let me channel through you. So really it's a lot of her wisdom teachings, her sacred medicine, if you want to go deeper with these queen codes.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you to all of the queens who have been here with us today, to the ancestors, to the goddesses, to the kings and a divine masculine holding a divine feminine for us as we come into this time of her story. Thank you to all of our audience for tuning in, and thank you, dear Elizabeth. This has just been, oh, just what my heart and soul needed.